Hi everyone, this is Robyn from Oh, the Audacity of Her, Unhinged and Unfiltered. Today I am going to talk about the weirdness of this whole experience. I am leaning into the fact that I can't believe that people want to hear me talk and want to hear about my life and my story and my experiences, and I am honoring those experiences, those feelings that I have. I am so incredibly grateful that you are listening and that people are excited about what I'm doing. But it feels so weird that people are so excited and happy about it. I just wanted to let people know what I'm doing because I realized, because this is all very new, that I need to be doing something with my hands while I am recording, because I am somebody who stims and usually I'm playing with something, and if I'm not, then I get sometimes kind of like caught up in my head or stumble on my words even more than I usually do. So if you hear kind of some little ASMR stuff, that is just me making art with leaves that I pressed. Well, they're leaves and they're flowers and things that I actually pressed from my garden. I'm a really big gardener, and so I last year, before winter hit, I pressed some flowers and some leaves from my garden, and I've been making vulva art, and so that is what I'm working on right now. So I apologize a little bit if there's some sound from that, but that is what I'm doing. So yeah, today is going to be me sharing a bit about this whole process and what I'm going through at the moment, which is a lot of changes. I am, in addition to the podcast, I'm actually kind of starting a new business venture too, where I am doing contract work and consulting and coaching and events all around neurodiversity, sex, sexuality, connecting to yourself, spirituality, empowerment, a lot about connecting to your authentic self and living in a way that feels good for you. And I am really excited about it. But it is also a big transition. And I find that it's a very different pace. It's a lot slower than my life usually is. And with this, it has given me a lot of opportunity to do some of the creative things that I love, like art, like writing, like recording, and really building relationships, building connections with people. And that's what I love so much. And so yeah, it's really exciting. It's really weird, but it's also awesome. And I just can't believe that this is my life and that this is what I get to do right now. And it's incredible. I've connected a lot to my spirituality in the last couple of years, especially since my ADHD diagnosis. I would say even a bit before that, I started participating in different Indigenous ceremonies local to Manitoba, to Canada, and I found myself in a way that I didn't even know I needed. And ever since I was little, I was really connected to Mother Earth, connected to the land, but I didn't have words for what that really meant. I didn't necessarily realize that I was spiritual, because to me, spirituality was always connected to religion. And so I wasn't necessarily religious in my mind. I was actually deeply spiritual, and I still am very spiritual. So just so you know, there's going to be a lot of kind of spiritual things that kind of come up in the podcast, because I believe that everything happens for a reason. And the podcast too, I have been kind of called to do this work because numerous people have told me last year, 2024, that they would love to listen to me on a podcast. And so I ignored it at first. I'm like, oh no, I'm not gonna do that. Like, I don't have time for that, so busy. And then more people started telling me that. And it wasn't just like the same people. It was sometimes people I would just randomly meet. Be like, I just really want to hear you talk. Can you just start a podcast? And I'm like, no. And if you know me in real life, you know that I'm incredibly stubborn. And so I will not do things that, I shouldn't say I will not do things. I tend to not want to do things that I don't want to do. And then I won't do them usually. Unless there's like a sign, or I'm being called to, or, certain things I like really have to do, like, pay the bills. But yeah, I was called to do this. There were multiple people that told me to, so thank you to the people that did, because you kind of pushed me into this, and now I'm doing it, and it's fun, but it's weird. And I think that all of these things kind of have happened to lead me to this point in my life, this piece of my life, and it's incredible, because I'm really in kind of a evolution of myself. I think I am. Somebody actually described it to me the other day, that they see me as being in a chrysalis, and I'm kind of doing the piece where they're like shimmying and shaking and like, and yeah, ready to kind of like just emerge. And I feel like I am there right now, where I'm continuously like surprising myself with the ideas that I have and the partnerships that I develop, and yeah, I have this ability to kind of turn my mind off and just speak from my heart, and share this like knowledge and wisdom that I don't necessarily even know if it's from me. I think it's maybe from past lives, and I mean, I say that I know what it's from, because I did have a vision, an ayahuasca vision, about what it's from, which I will share at one point. Stay tuned. You'll have to keep listening, because I'm not quite. I think there needs to be a bit more context before I share some of those pieces, but I am deeply connected to Mother Earth and to the land, but I'm also deeply connected to the stars and to the ancestors. And one of my gifts is to share knowledge that others have either shared with me through storytelling or through experiences, but also the knowledge that I have received through ceremony, and just through this deep connection to my spirituality. And the more that I'm connected, the more I grow, and things happen, and it's just so cool. It's so cool. It's really hard to explain, but it's really awesome. So I'm really, really honored that you're all on this journey, because all I've ever wanted in life is to help people. And I never knew what that exactly meant in terms of a job. Like, I've thought I was going to do a lot of jobs. And when I kind of lost myself for a while, I didn't know if I would be able to help people anymore. But now I know that I have actually made I think significant impacts in people's lives, and that's incredible. And we often don't get to see or hear how we impact people, but I have, and people have shared with me some of the differences that I've made in their life. And yeah, it's just so, it is such an honor. And that's where I'm at with this whole experience, is that, like, yeah, I can't believe that it's real. And I have this imposter syndrome. Well, it's funny. So part of my journey is really naming things and sitting with feelings and sitting with what comes up for me. And that is one, is that there's the part of my head, the more, I would say, colonial part of my head, that is kind of mainstream society, how the head stuff in my head that is called imposter syndrome, where I feel like, oh my gosh, who am I to share this knowledge? Who am I to be able to have a podcast and to do these presentations and these workshops and speak at conferences and have opportunities to sit at tables with people who I admire, or people who I see in like a different, I don't know, status in society than me. And it's like, how do I get all of these opportunities? But also, how do I get all these opportunities to meet so many amazing people who share their lives with me? And I am so incredibly honored. I think of a moment where I was sharing my story. I had the opportunity to share my story of being a survivor of sexualized violence in a restorative justice capacity. And I was just, it was transformative. It was the most wonderful experience for me to be able to do that work, and to do a circle and to share that, how those experiences affected me, and to feel so heard and so seen with strangers, with people who didn't know me, and but who had so much care, and I felt genuine love for me as a human to human, and I felt that too. And I do some restorative justice volunteer work, and that's something that I really share in those spaces, that we need to humanize this work. We need to connect and understand, why we do the things that we do, and how we can lean into those uncomfortable moments and grow and change, and that our identity is so complex. It's not one thing that forms our identity. But I work in spaces where, like, when I'm working with different populations of people, there's so many times that they're judged for one thing. I think about when I work with people who use substances, who use drugs, who are so judged by society, and to me that is like the biggest bullshit because like so many people use different types of substances, and what is the difference between like my prescribed, stimulant for my ADHD versus using a stimulant on the streets? And stigma is it, and systems, colonial systems. And so but I am very, very protective of the folks that I work with who are judged for one thing. And I feel that in the restorative justice work I do too, that there's more pieces than the crime. There's more than seeing somebody for that one piece of either what they did or what they're doing or who they are. There's so much more to people, and we don't take the time to see people for the whole person. And I am so honored that I get to, and that I have opportunity to really meet people where they're at, and to like learn about them and who they are, and hear stories and share stories. And this is where the imposter syndrome piece comes back in, is, how am I special? How am I special to be able to receive those gifts? Because to me, those are gifts when people share with me and open up and are vulnerable. But then there's also the part of me that knows that it's also because I am open and vulnerable and receptive and see people for who they are, not what society says that they are. And that is such a beautiful gift that I have. And it's one of my favorite parts of myself, if I'm being honest. Because I have a lot of flaws, don't worry, and like those will come out, I'm sure too. But yeah, I have an ability to hold space for people and to sit with them, and I am just genuinely curious and want to know. And people, I think, see that, I'm asking a million questions and not trying to be rude or disrespectful. I am just excited and curious about people's lives and like want to know them, and people feel that, and they're like, yeah, I'll tell you, that's cool. And then I'm super excited about it. It's amazing. But in my last ayahuasca ceremony, because I do ayahuasca a couple times a year, I was sharing with somebody else in ceremony who is a very important person to me. We don't know each other well, but we have this like connection that is just so sacred. And when I shared like, that I get really emotional around that piece, around like, how am I deserving of this? How I'm just me, like, how am I so lucky to have these experiences? And I wish everybody was able to have these experiences and see the world the way that I do. Although I will say it's also very hard to sometimes see the world through the lens that I have, because I've seen and experienced so many things and heard so many things. But although I will also acknowledge my privilege, like I have a lot of privilege, and absolutely, I just, I just feel so grateful that people share their experiences with me. And when I say I have imposter syndrome, my dear friend, she shared with me, no, Robyn, that's humility. And getting emotional. And so I am yeah, so deeply honored that you all are here on this journey with me, and I'm really excited. And I'm gonna share a little bit about that ceremony. Um, I know this whole episode isn't about ayahuasca, and it's more about spirituality and about the weirdness of me feeling like all this transformation, these changes are just so exciting and also overwhelming. But so when my friend had shared and gifted me that knowledge and that teaching on humility and the feelings that I was going through, and naming it in a different way that really resonated with me, I realized that that humility is in the 7 sacred teachings represented by the wolf. And at that ayahuasca ceremony, I heard a wolf howling, and there was howling, wolf howling coming through somebody. So my friend that had gifted me this teaching, she was howling in the ceremony, and then I also realized that the wolf and humility had resonated so much after she had said that. And in that ayahuasca ceremony, I felt such a connection to her. And then after that, it was a hard ceremony. It was such a good one, but a really hard one. And that I often have a hard time kind of being back in nature. And when I say nature, I don't have a hard time being back in nature. I have a hard time being back in society after. But yeah, I was outside because there was like incredible northern lights, like just incredible. And so I'm in the yard, and my husband's outside too. And then we hear a wolf howling. And where we live, there's coyotes often, but there's not wolves. And there was a wolf howling. And I was like, yep, that's it. And so I try to remind myself now of that I am, because I am so becoming so connected to my gifts, and because I am so open and receptive and because I try really hard to be a good person and to do what I can to help people, even if it's in the littlest ways, that I'm deserving of this, that I'm deserving of the things that are coming to me, and I'm open to it. And I am kind of just on this journey which is really fascinating to me, because for a long time I was lost. And now that I am allowing the space and the time to open myself up to the universe and to follow that energy and to sit with that and really process my life and process my experiences and heal in different ways. And my healing and my vulnerability and my reconnection to my gifts is helping others. And the more I'm sharing, the more I'm planting seeds in others. And that is so amazing that I even am able to do that. And it's so weird and incredible. But I have another dear friend who actually found me at a sweat lodge, and she has gifts as well. My other friend in the sweat lodge also has incredible gifts. I really hope one day I can have them both on to interview them, because they are just both, I'm so lucky. I'm so grateful to have all these wonderful people in my life. But she found me at a sweat lodge, and when she saw me, she said she had to connect with me. And I kind of thought, I thought nothing of it, because again, head stuff. I kind of thought, it must be about work. And then ended up not being able to meet with her for quite a while, and then just forgetting to text her back too, which that happens. I mean, again, ADHD. I will sometimes read my text and then forget to reply, so sorry every single person in my life. But I pretty much always go back to it. That's the thing, is that I will sometimes forget to reply right away, but then I will go back and realize, and then I'm like, oh shoot, sorry, like I missed this. But there was like months of me not replying to her, and she would keep trying. And then eventually she reached out and was like, I need to see you before the end of this month. And I'm like, okay, yeah, let's do it. And so I set 2 alarms in my phone. And then what did I do? Not hear them. And it wasn't until I got in my vehicle that I realized, oh my gosh, like she is waiting for me at Tim Hortons, and I'm not there, and I hadn't eaten. I was so tired. I was like all over the place. And then when I got there, she's like, has papers all over, and I'm like, what is going on? So then I tell her like, oh, I'm so scattered, blah, blah. And so she's like, hey, this is why I'm here. Go, like, get some food, whatever. So I get some food. I'm like calming down a little bit. And she starts telling me that about these gifts that I have that I don't realize. And I'm spiritual, and I've always been a little bit, but not like I've never been to anyone that could like do well, no, I had done one time I had done a reading or like an energy healing, and that was really awesome, and like I loved that experience too. It wasn't something I guess I'd necessarily prioritize, and to be honest, I don't know how much I like believed in all of it until until my friend made me believe, because she shared all of these things that I couldn't deny. And she said that the angels had been calling to her to tell me about my gifts, because I didn't know I had them. And when she saw me that day at the sweat lodge, she knew she had to tell me. And that everything has been different since then. Things had started to shift kind of before that, but they really shifted after. And she had told me all about my ayahuasca ceremonies before I even told her that I had ever done ayahuasca. She had talked about my visions. Everything was So accurate, so spot on, and I couldn't believe it. I remember texting my husband because I was very late coming home. And I said, I don't know when I'm coming home, and I'm so sorry that I don't know that, but this is what's happening, and I have never experienced anything like this, and I need to find out kind of like what this is about. And yeah, so my friend Amanda, who does the healing and the readings, she is still a very big part of my life and has connected me to my gifts and made me realize that I can connect to them in a way that can help others even more than I ever knew possible. And it is wild. It's wild when you believe and when you see the signs of how to, when you see the signs that point to, like, yes, you have these gifts, honor them, use them, and when you see it, you can't unsee it. And so that is where now I am really, really going with those signs and going with, okay, lean into this. And holy smokes, is it incredible and so wonderful and fascinating. And I do oracle readings and I do oracle cards every day, and I just love the spiritual connection of it all. And so I am here to really share this information and share some of my life experiences and the experiences and the knowledge that I have been gifted through ceremony and through reconnection and through finding my light and finding my voice and working with my brain instead of against it, and working with my intuition instead of against it. And it took a long time to connect and a long time, to reconnect to myself because of the trauma, because of all of the bullshit of what society had told me I was, and how we are conditioned to be disconnected from our true selves and disconnected from our feelings, and really disconnected from each other. Because once we find ourselves and connect to ourselves, it really feels like we're kind of unstoppable. And that's where I'm at. I feel like I am pushing forward in a way that aligns with all parts of myself. And it is so beautiful and wonderful and fascinating. And I am really excited to be able to share that with the world and to kind of hone in on my bravery, because I know that people are like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're sharing all of these things and all these parts of yourself with the world. But you know what? Why not? Like, if I can even make a difference for one person through all of this sharing, it's worth it. If I can if I can support, if I can build community for people who are on journeys to reconnect to themselves, to their spirit, to their light, to their voice, whatever it is that you're reconnecting to. I want to be there for them. I want you to be seen. And I hope that there's parts of my journey that will resonate for you. And I am really excited that you're here. And thank you for tuning in and following my journey with me. And I know it's all over the place, but that's how it's gonna be, because that's who I am. And I am honoring that. I am a contrarian. I do not do anything the normal way. And you know what? Healing isn't linear. And this really is a journey of healing. It is a journey of healing from systems, from trauma, from all types of trauma, and healing from the disconnection of the world. So thank you so much for tuning in this episode. Please follow me on Instagram, Oh the Audacity of Her, and follow me on YouTube. And I am on Apple Music, Spotify, and I have a Patreon now as well. If you want any exclusive content, tune in there. And I am soon going to be booking with doing consultations. I'm going to be doing some readings. My cats are trying to get in. I apologize if you can hear that. But if you want to connect and be a part of, see more of my world, go on my Patreon. I'm going to be setting some stuff up there. But yeah, thank you for tuning in, and take good care. Oh, Faith Fundell, those are your words, CBC. But I hope everybody stay well.